Okay, in this video we're going to look at one of the homework 3s and some things that didn't get done. Alright, so we're looking at this one here. This is supposed to be, I believe, a track. So there's an approximation. There's some sort of version of a track. The ones are supposed to be the track and the zeros are not supposed to be there. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and put this in the class directory. This is coming from 12's account. Alright, so let's see. That should be all okay. It's readable by everyone, so now I'll go ahead and look at it over there. Alright, here it is. First we can just take a look at what this file looks like in the HTML. Mostly I'm just going to look at the table here. Okay, so that is formatted and indented nicely, so that's good. Should make it easier to do things. First I'm going to take out these zeros. So I will just do a query replace of, let's see, anything that is a TD0. Probably I'll just make that a TD. Alright, let's see. So those are there now. I believe what the person wanted was no borders on these. So let's see. In order to do that, we would like to have those TDs be somehow different than the rest. And there are some IDs here that were probably meant to do something, but they don't appear to be doing anything right now, so I'm just going to take them out for now. That start one was probably okay, so let's call this a start TD, and it looks like there was one here. I'm going to give it a class instead of an ID. We can use either one, but I'll call this one, I believe they wanted to have green and red spots. So anyway, those will be two that we can look at. Now all the empty TDs, these ones, we want to do something different with the border. Let's go ahead and look at the style up here that we have. So table TD TR have border 1 pixel solid. Then border collapse on the table, okay. The TDs have a margin and a background color with a mistake there with the semicolon. So if you do a semicolon, that's actually not correct. That property won't do anything. And dot start. So dot is for class. That will probably show up now as red. So if it's a class, then you would do a dot here. If it was an ID, then you would do a pound. That's just the rule. Okay, let's see what we have now. Alright, so there's the light gray, but okay, so background color, bright red is not a thing. Maybe without the space? No. Okay, so if you want to know if some particular word is a color, then you go to HTML color names, and you'll see a list of names that are commonly understood by web browsers. Okay, there's the start. I would probably, I don't know. All right, it's red. Now we want to make maybe these ones in the middle different color. So I want to give them all the same I could give them all the same class. I could also use the nth child property that we've used on some other ones, so we could make the first column and the last column, first row and the last row be light gray. So I think that's what we'll do, is by default, let's just look at the color for now. Okay, so by default I'm going to make this background color, let's see if light green is a thing. If this is a track, then that might be the infield. So if we do that, then everything's light green, but if we want the outside to be gray, and there was an nth child property that I don't remember even though we've used it before. I think there was a first, let's see, HTML, CSS first child. So we should be able to use first child and last child actually. So let's go ahead and look at this. That's with a colon. So colon first child, and also TD. I'm guessing that there's one called last child. And we also have TR, so the first row child, and TR last child. And you can put commas here. That means it will do a tag or an element that satisfies any one of these will be styled with what I put in here. Okay, so I got the TDs and the TRs are not. So let's take a look. So there is a TR, let's see. It shows as a background color light gray. And then if we go and look at the second TD, it shows as a background color light green. So what's happening there is the style of the TD is overriding the style of the TR because it's inside. So the row itself is gray, but then this particular TD is not. All right. So let's take a look at our code, our table again. So we would like, okay, so I'll show you something different. I could give all of these their own class or own ID and do it that way. But another way to do it is, let's just try this out. So those TDs looked fine for the first and last column, but this rule here for the first row isn't really doing it. So if I have a TR first child, and then I have a TD inside of that, okay, and if I have a TR, so this is a way to do rules that we haven't done. You're not responsible for this, but if we put multiple, each one of these is called a selector. So that selects certain elements of the page, so anything that satisfies this property. It's a TR that's a first child, which means it's the first row in the table. So that satisfies some property, and this greater than means that you have something that satisfies this, and then you have a TD inside of that. So we have something that satisfies the first child property, it's the first row, and then a TD inside of that. And it's easier to look at it in terms of the view that we get here by levels. So we have a first child there. That TR is a first child of the T body. And then the next level we have a TD, we have a TD. Those are all on the same level. They're all children of that TR. So that's what this does, and it actually, the greater than can be there or not. The difference is that The greater than specifies that the immediate next level is a TD, which is the case here. There's nothing in between. But if there were some other tags in between the TR and the TD was somehow nested down lower, then the greater than would be to distinguish those cases. Alright, so anyway, we have the gray. Maybe we want to get rid of these borders. So maybe we actually want to get rid of the ones as well. Let's go ahead and get rid of the ones. I think we probably can get rid of all of these bold ones and just replace them with nothing. Of course, you can put them back in if you want to. Alright, everything's really small there. Why don't we make the TDs a certain size? So there's a TD. We'll make the width, say, I don't know, 40 pixels, and the height, say 40 pixels, and see what that looks like. Maybe we'll make the height 20 pixels. Alright, so now if we want to get rid of these lines, we can by just getting rid of the border. So let's see, text align center, that's not really being used anymore. I'm going to get rid of that. And then we want a border on the table, but not really on the TDs. And I'll combine this width here. And the border collapse we don't really need unless we're having borders on the cells. Let's see what it looks like now. Oh, okay, the border collapse was needed there to not have the empty border, I suppose. Border collapse. Alright, so there's that. If we wanted to have multiple lanes, then we'd be doing something for the we'd be doing maybe like 2 rows, 2 columns. But let's put that start on there. So we had the TD dot start was red earlier, but right now it's showing up as light gray. So there's a competing between these two rules. So there's a TD dot start that's saying to be red, but then there's a TR first child TD which is saying to be light gray. Let's just take a look and see what it looks like here. Okay, so this this is showing both of the rules, and this one is not is not active. So there's, let's see. All right, so there's a reason for this. Let me just pause to see how to fix this first. Okay, so what's happening here is, so we have a rule, TD, let's see, TR first child, so it's the first row and then a TD, so that's like 2 levels in that rule, and the browser assigns a score based on how specific the rule is. So we have a rule there that's 2 levels, and this rule is only 1 level, so that's why it's losing. And there's formulas for how this stuff goes. I don't remember, but if we make this one sort of match, there's 2 levels and here's 2 levels, but then this one is later in the style. So I think that will make that one win. Alright, so there's that. What if we wanted to add another, let's see. Let's just finish this up by showing some rows. second row. So now let's say I want to make the second row also light gray. I could do now, instead of just instead of just the first child, we'll add in here tr nth child, and I believe we put a 2 there. So let's see if that worked. Alright, now there's 2 rows, and we'll add in the tr last child td. So that should be the second last row. Sorry, nth child. I believe we can do a -2 for 2 from the end. No, alright, let's look it up. Link to the, let's see, CSS nth child. Nth child 2, that's what we're seeing. Odd, even. Alright, let's just pause here. Okay, there's one called nth last child. So that's what we want. So nth last child with a 2, so that's second last child. And then we want to do the same thing with the TDs. So we'd have TD nth child, 2 TD nth last child, 2. Okay, now if we want to draw lane markers, then we would want to set up rules to have a border just on some of these. So let's try out, so we want to, let's start with the first row here. So that would be a tr first child and then td. So border bottom 1 pix solid black. So there it is. Now if we didn't want to have this here, then we have to do something with the TD not being the first or the last child. So there's different ways to do that. I'll just do, if this is the first child, and we have a TD first child, or TR first child, and TD last child. So that should be selecting the first cell in the first row and the last cell in the first row, and maybe we don't want to have that line there. So then we'd have border bottom none. None is a keyword that we can use. Alright, so that's gone. Now if we want to do the, let's just do the first column here so we can see what it would look like. So this is the first row. Now if we do TD first child, that should be the first column, except we want to do the border on the side. So that's a border right. There it is, and then we have to play the same kind of game to get rid of the border. So this would be TR first child, TD first child. Actually, if we just put this one second, maybe that'll cancel the border. No, so let's see, what is this? TR, which is a first child, and then TD, which is a first child, border bottom. Okay, so we also want to do border right, none. So that first cell there, so the first and the last here don't have any border, and then we want to do the same thing for this one, which is TR last, so it's the last row, first child, and then TR, let's see, last child. We would need this one eventually. Alright, and you could do the rest as well. Now if we wanted to add in more lanes, then we could. If we wanted to make this a start position for the player on the person on lane, inside lane there, then we would want to put another, let's see, that's in the second row, second column. So second row looks like, let's just put it there. So right, that doesn't really make sense there. We should put it on the second one. Okay, so I guess that's enough. The end. There's a lot more. So these CSS selectors, we didn't look at this in the CS151 because this is not supposed to be a in-depth web programming course, but there's lots of rules, and if you're trying to figure out how to make some particular part of the page do something, then you're looking for the right HTML CSS. So some of that stuff is in the parts that we looked at, but if you don't find it, then search for HTML, CSS, and then whatever it is you want to do. You may either find the right reference page or somebody asking a question. The end.